He found the apartment at the end of a long, carpeted tunnel of muted colors and identical doors. It was unnervingly quiet. He took a breath, shifted the package in his hands, and knocked. The sound was swallowed by the silence. He knocked again. For a moment, nothing. Then, the smooth, expensive click of a deadbolt. The door didn't creak. It swung inward with a heavy, silent grace. And there she was. The woman in the doorway was still. Her dark hair was pulled back, her feet bare against the polished floor. But it was her eyes that held him. They were dark, intelligent, and completely, utterly unsurprised. She looked at him not like a delivery driver, but like an expected guest. "Delivery for a Mr. Sterling?" Leo's voice sounded thin. She ignored the name, her gaze unwavering. A small, knowing smile touched her lips but didn't reach her eyes. She spoke, her voice calm and low, yet it carried an impossible weight that seemed to suck all the air from the hallway. "I know who you are, Leo, and you have something for me. I've been waiting for you." Leo's brain just stalled. I think I have the wrong door," he stammered. "This is for apartment 1308. Her calm expression suddenly fractured, replaced by a sharp urgency. Her eyes darted past him, down the long hall. "Number, you're right on time, but they're coming. You need to get in here, now." Before the words could even form a coherent thought, the elevator at the far end of the hall dinged. The doors slid open. 2 men stepped out. They weren't residents. They were built like refrigerators in sharp, dark suits, their expressions cold and predatory. Their eyes swept the hall and locked onto Leo. The woman grabbed his arm, her grip shockingly strong. "Don't ask questions, just move." She yanked him inside her apartment as the heavy thud of footsteps raced down the hall. The door clicked shut, the deadbolt shooting home with a final, heavy thud, a split second before a fist hammered against the other side. Leo stumbled into the room, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. The apartment wasn't a home, it was a nerve center. A wall of monitors glowed with cascading lines of code and security feeds. Wires snaked across the floor. The air hummed with electricity. The pounding on the door grew more violent. "What is going on?" Leo demanded, his voice trembling. "Who are those men?" The woman was already at a keyboard, her fingers a blur. "The people who killed your wife." The words didn't just hit him. They hollowed him out. The room tilted, the hum of the machines swelling into a roar in his ears. The package slipped from his numb fingers. "What?" he whispered. "That's impossible. Sarah, it was an accident. The police said she lost control in the rain." "The police were wrong," she said, her voice a flat, cold line of certainty. She never looked up from her screen. Or they were paid to be. "It wasn't an accident, Leo. It was an execution. And that..." She finally turned, her dark eyes pinning him, and pointed to the package on the floor, "is the key to why." The pounding on the door cracked the wood near the frame. "My name is Aara," she said, her voice a low, urgent hum. "The men outside work for a man named Corbin, a tech philanthropist to the world, a visionary. Your wife, Sarah, knew him as a monster." Leo's mind was a storm of terror and disbelief. "Sarah? What does she have to do with some billionaire?" "She was a forensic accountant," Aara explained, her eyes flicking between Leo and her screens. "She worked for a firm hired to audit one of Corbin's companies, and she found it. A global money laundering operation hidden behind layers of shell corporations. She was building a case. The pieces of a nightmare puzzle began to lock into place. This delivery," Aara gestured to the package, "was her dead man's switch. After she was killed, the data was set to be delivered here, to me. Corbin knew. He arranged for you to be the driver. His men were supposed to intercept you, take the drive, and leave you to take the fall for a massive cyber attack he just launched to cover his tracks. You were the patsy, Leo, the grieving husband turned domestic terrorist. His wife wasn't a victim of random tragedy. She was a hero, and he was her last loose end." "We don't have time," Aara said, grabbing a backpack. "They're through the first lock. By now, they're probably at your apartment." Ice shot through Leo's veins. Maya. Asterisk. His hands shook as he fumbled for his phone, dialing his neighbor. "Mrs. Gable," he said, fighting to keep his voice steady. "It's Leo. Listen, Operation Unicorn." It was a silly code they'd made up for emergencies. A game. "Leo, is everything all right?" "Please," he begged. "Just Operation Unicorn, now." He heard the shift in her voice. "I'm on my way to the school now, dear." He hung up, a single breath of relief in an ocean of terror. The apartment door groaned, the wood splintering. Aara grabbed him. "This way." She pushed aside a panel in a utility closet, revealing a dusty service corridor. "Garage, level P4, Bay 7, go." He ran blindly through the guts of the building. His mind raced, flashing back to the screen of his phone, slightly smudged from a raindrop. Apartment 1308. Or was that an 8? He could have sworn it looked like 1808. He'd thought of Maya, of getting home for story time. He'd wanted to be fast. He made a choice, a small, seemingly insignificant decision. He had pressed the button for the 13th floor. He burst into the concrete parking garage, his lungs burning, and saw the nondescript sedan just as Aara came sprinting from a stairwell. They jumped in, the tires screaming as she peeled out. As they shot up the exit ramp, the two suited men appeared, weapons drawn. Aara slammed the accelerator, and the car launched out into the storm-lashed city, leaving Leo's old life behind in the darkness. The hideout was a small apartment above a laundromat, the rhythmic tumble of the machines a strangely steady heartbeat. Leo paced while Aara worked on the drive. For the first time in hours, the chaos subsided into a quiet ache. It had been 2 years since his wife, Sarah, had passed. 2 years of his world shrinking down to just him and 6-year-old Maya, a whirlwind of pink pajamas who chattered about unicorns. He took the delivery for her, for a new coat, for a life that wasn't a constant grind. The grief was a quiet roommate. Now, it was a raging fire. "It's no good," Aara finally said. "Sarah's encryption is a masterpiece. It's a 2-key system. We have the software key. But the hardware key, the physical dongle, she told me she hid it somewhere Corbin would never look, in plain sight." "Where?" Leo's voice was raw. "In his office. Inside a humanitarian award he won last year." Her little joke. As if on cue, a news report flashed on a small television. The anchor spoke in grave tones about a devastating cyber attack, and then Leo's face filled the screen, a tired photo from his work ID. The headline blared, "Leo Vance, Person of Interest." He sank into a chair, his name, his face, his life stolen and twisted into a lie. He could run with Maya, but Corbin had already taken everything once. He wouldn't let him win again. The despair inside him burned away, leaving behind a cold, hard anger. He looked at Aara. "He took my wife," Leo said, his voice low and steady. "He is trying to destroy my future with my daughter. He's already taken my name." He stood up, the exhaustion gone, replaced by a dangerous energy. "I'm not running anymore. Tell me how we stop him." The plan was insane. Corbin's company was hosting its annual charity gala that night, a fortress of glass and steel. "You'll go in as staff," Aara said, handing him a crisp catering jacket. "They'll be looking for a desperate fugitive, not a man serving champagne." She fitted a tiny earpiece into his ear. "I'll be your eyes. I can get you through security, but you'll have to be fast. Get the key, get out." Walking into that lobby felt like walking to his own execution. He kept his head down, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. "Okay, service elevator on your left," Aara's voice whispered. "Camera is down for 30 seconds. Go." He moved on pure adrenaline through a maze of sterile corridors. He wasn't a spy, he was a dad who missed his wife. He finally reached the executive floor. "Office at the end of the hall," Aara said. "I'm overriding the lock." The light turned green. He slipped inside. The office was vast, with a godlike view of the city. On a shelf lined with accolades stood a gleaming crystal trophy. His fingers fumbled with the base. A small panel clicked open. The tiny hardware key. He had it. "Well, well," a voice said from the shadows. "I have to admit, I didn't think you'd make it this far." Corbin stepped out from behind a desk, a self-satisfied smirk on his face. He held a phone, a security feed showing Leo's entire path through the building. It was a trap. Corbin circled him. "Sarah was just like you," he mused, his voice dripping with condescension. "So self-righteous, so convinced she was on the side of the angels. Look where it got her, and now look where it will get you. He lunged, slamming Leo against the wall. I'm going to enjoy this, Corbin snarled. Then, Aara's voice crackled in his ear, frantic but clear. Leo, he's confessing. I'm recording. I have a new plan. Get to the main server room, now. At the same instant, a fire alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Leo shoved Corbin and scrambled for the door, sprinting back into a hallway now filled with confused guests. He followed Aara's directions, a man possessed, and found the server room. But Corbin was right behind him, tackling him, sending them both crashing against a server rack. They wrestled on the floor, a clumsy, desperate fight. Corbin's hands closed around Leo's throat. Black spots danced in his vision. Then, a new sound cut through the alarm. Corbin's own voice, amplified, echoing from the building's PA system. Asterisk. Sarah was just like you. So self-righteous. Look where it got her. Asterisk. Corbin froze, his eyes wide with horror. In that single moment, Leo twisted free. He grabbed the data drive and the hardware key, jammed them together, and slammed them into the main server port. On the massive monitor at the end of the room, data began to flow. Emails, offshore accounts, communications, all of Sarah's work streamed out to every major news outlet and law enforcement agency on the planet. It was over. Corbin just stared, defeated, as security flooded the room. Months later, the sun was warm. The air smelled of salt, and the sound of crashing waves was a lullaby. Leo watched Maya decorating a sandcastle, her laughter as bright as the day. The news cycles had moved on. Corbin's empire was dust, and Leo Vance was no longer a fugitive. His name was his own again. He felt a presence beside him and turned to see Aara, smiling. She was a friend now, a fixture in their new, quiet life. They had used some of the whistleblower reward money to disappear, to start over. She would have loved this, Leo said, his voice thick as he watched Maya chase a wave. Aara looked out at the endless blue horizon. She is, Leo, she said softly. She is. He put his arm around his daughter as she ran back to him, her face beaming. He held her tight, the sun on his back, her laughter in his ears, and for the first time in a long, long time, felt the undeniable promise of a hopeful future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this film, do me a favor and subscribe for more stories like this one. You can also follow our journey and get some behind-the-scenes content on our social media channels.